Open a channel. It's in-depth Trek.
Hello everyone, welcome to the In-Depth Trek podcast. I've just had to clear my throat there and re-record this because I tried to do the intro and I just absolutely had one of the worst coughing fits I've ever had in my life, so we've restarted. Welcome to episode 6, which is the Phage. This is the 5th episode of season 1. So just before we begin, I just want to thank you all for listening, and if you have any comments or suggestions of me improvements that I could make, just let me know. I'm on Twitter quite a lot. For the followers that are already there, thank you for following, really appreciate it. Anyway, let's get into it. So we're on stardate 48532.4. Voyager's on the way to a rogue planetoid, which is rich in dilithium, because Voyager has a power shortage, which I think is something that really should have been looked into a lot more. Like the struggle of, being, like, having limited fuel supplies. I really think that should have been delved into a lot more. And maybe a few more episodes where they're struggling rather than just have the reset button every episode. Anyway, Janeway and Chakotay are looking for a way to refine the raw dilithium on the ship. So Janeway instructs B'Elanna to get on it. After Chakotay suggests that she does so. Janeway invites Chakotay to breakfast at this point, but it's all just played off as like a big joke because Janeway's having ration pack number 5. Anyway, then Janeway enters the captain's dining room, to which Neelix has very kindly converted it into a mess hall, which we, going forward, will know where this is. Janeway is absolutely fuming with Neelix, but Chakotay chimes in on a comm badge saying they're approaching the planet, and Janeway instructs Neelix to come with her to the bridge, and they'll deal with the mess hall thing later, which it kind of is, like right at the very end, in a decent way, I suppose. So, at this point, Neelix is just shoehorned to be the comic relief, and it just doesn't work at all, in my opinion. He's just totally cringe-worthy at times, and annoying in others, and downright obnoxious most of the time. Credit to Ethan Phillips, though, for the turnaround he shows for the character. He ends up redeeming Neelix in the end, and I mean, early seasons I don't like Neelix, but later on, I think like season 3 onwards, he is pretty good. And I do end up enjoying them quite a lot. Anyway, we're now on the bridge. Janeway asks the bridge crew for updates, and according to the bridge crew, they've found dilithium. The planetoid is Class M, so for anyone that doesn't know what a Class M planet is, that basically just means it's very Earth-like in the fact that life can exist on it. It's breathable air and stuff like that. Without going into that much detail about it, but basically it's very Earth-like in its composition. So Chakotay, Kim and Neelix form an away team and start the analysis of the planetoid. Neelix then wanders off whilst they're on the planetoid doing the scans and things. And it's revealed at this point that some of the caves are actually holographic. So it's all an illusion. And then a mysterious figure emerges out of the sort of tunnel that it is, that once the hologram sort of drops, it's kind of like a Deep Space Nine set. If you can imagine the kind of tunnel system on Deep Space Nine, not the tunnel system, like the corridors in Deep Space Nine, it's a lot like that. It looks like a reuse set, basically. Anyway, this is where the intro is, because the mysterious figure appears, and then it's like, oh, mystery. Then the Voyager intro comes on, so Janeway, Chakotay can't find any dilithium on his scans at all, and Harry's in the same situation. Neelix has found a large cave of course. Chakotay says not to move, and obviously Neelix, being Neelix, doesn't listen at all and continues anyway. Neelix also can't see any dilithium, and this is the point where Chakotay then calls everyone back to Voyager. Decent leadership from Chakotay, I will say that. Nothing too untoward or bullheaded from him, like we see later on when he just wants to destroy Voyager every time he's in command of it. But yeah, he gets rid of, sort of scrubs the mission and says everyone needs to energise back to Voyager. Neelix investigates his tricorder readings and discovers the DS9, as I dubbed it, tunnel, and then he's then subsequently shot and starts convulsing on the floor, but not before having the most hilarious "I have been shot" face I think I've ever seen. He's like, "Ah!" like as he's being shot. It's quite funny. If you haven't seen the video, type in, is it worst death scene? Or just on YouTube, just those words, and it's quite like that, to be honest. Or just watch the episode as well. So Chakotay and Kim, before being beamed away, because obviously they needed to meet up, rush to save Neelix, and then they all beam to sickbay. The Doctor acts quickly here. He's shown like he's very good medically. Obviously, he's the Doctor. He knows what's wrong. It's not revealed to us yet, but he definitely, you can tell in his acting, he knows what he's doing. So he knows what's wrong. And then it's revealed that Neelix's lungs have been removed, which is just, I mean, horrific, I suppose. It's absolutely atrocious what's happened to Neelix here. So Chakotay updates Janeway on the situation, what's happened, because obviously Janeway has been on the ship the entire time. Janeway looks scared here. Obviously Kate Mulgrew, great actress. She also looks confused and concerned, and obviously rightly so, because this has happened to one crew member, so she doesn't know that this can't happen again. She doesn't know if it's contagious or anything that's happened to him, really. I don't think it's revealed that he was actually shot with the beam thing at this point. So Kes is then updated by Janeway, who's just been updated by Chakotay. Kes goes straight to Neelix, and the Doctor explains that Neelix will die in 47 minutes. I think I mentioned this before, that the number 47 is used by quite a lot in Voyager, or Star Trek as a whole, really. It's just kind of a meme. Like Shield's at 47% is another example. That happens quite a lot. Or meet me in room 47, so stuff like that. So yeah, Neelix will die in 47 minutes unless the crew can recover his lungs in time. How they're going to do that, I have no idea. For all they know, yes, his lungs have been removed, but couldn't they have just been destroyed? Like, I know they've got to try, but the Doctor at this point also states it appears impossible to replicate new lungs or anything artificial, but he will try to find a solution regardless. So they've got kind of two avenues at this point. It's pretty obvious what's going to happen. They're going to send one team away to look for his lungs, and then they're going to try and find a solution on the ship with the Doctor. So Janeway leads a search party with a security detail. They're all armed at this point. We remain in sickbay with Tom and the Doctor, and Kes insists she is to stay with Neelix, and the Doctor agrees. This shows his understanding, and Kes does actually care for Neelix. So we're back on the planetoid now. Harry shows Janeway where Neelix was attacked, and Janeway quickly discovers that the wall was in fact a force field. She instructs Harry and Tuvok to fire upon the wall, revealing the way forward. It's obviously very intuitive from Janeway, as it should be for a captain. It also shows in the sense that she isn't fucking around. She's obviously trying to resolve this issue as quickly as possible, so guns out if it means firing on things. You know, that's not particularly a Starfleet method, just to, I don't know, pull a gun or fire a weapon at the first opportunity. But in this instance, I think it's very warranted. They pull the guns out, and the hologram force field wall thing disappears. So a great sense of urgency from the captain, and I've wrote here she's a strong leader, which I fully agree with. So back on Voyager, Tom noticed Neelix's cellular toxicity is increasing. The doctor instructs Tom to replicate the relevant medication. The doctor comes up with a plan using the transporter matrix to create holographic lungs. Tom is taught I remember this. Tom is taught rather effectively how holograms work and receives a beautiful slap in the face from the doctor, and I've wrote lol because it is quite funny. It's kind of a scene where Tom's kind of saying like, oh, holographic lungs won't work, they're just light, like how would that work? And then the doctor slaps him and says like he can change his, like, whether things go through him or not, and then he instructs Tom to slap him, and his hand just kind of passes through, so they can change between like a solid and not a solid sort of thing. Where are we at? Here. Kes wants to know the risks. The doctor explains Neelix will have to be still for it to work, meaning he can't move, essentially, for all they know, for the rest of his life. At least until his original organs are recovered. At this point, Tom consoles Kes, and Kes is unsure what Neelix would do or want, but she wants him to live and agrees to the procedure. So, we're back on the planet again. Tuvok, Harry and Janeway are searching the tunnels. They discover the source of the dilithium. It turns out there was no resources for Voyager all along. They've discovered an organ farm, like laboratory sort of thing. And it's all kind of like in jars and things like that, where they've got like skin from different creatures and organs and things like that. Which, it seems quite horrific. It sounds like really horrific, but when you watch it, it's not really a horror-themed episode. I don't know, really. Like, it depends on the person who's watching it, but I personally wouldn't say it's... Obviously, it's a terrifying concept, but it's not a scary episode. An away team member finds another door, and Janeway walks through. And apparently on the tricorders there's a life sign nearby. So Tuvok and Janeway give pursuit. Tuvok discovers and shoots at the life form, which he does actually hit as well, but it manages to run, and they give chase, but he gets away. At this point, Janeway orders to be beamed back to the ship, and to immediately give chase to the ship that is fleeing. Then we kind of fade to black. And in sickbay, Tom is tending to Neelix, and the holographic lungs are activated. After some initial issues, it appears the lungs are working. Then we're back on the bridge again. The fleeing ship is the same speed as Voyager, which is crazy to think how fast Voyager is for this period of time in Star Trek sort of history. Or future. I don't know how to describe that. At this point, Neelix is conscious anyway, and is getting to grips with his new life, restrained so he can breathe. Janeway orders Paris to the bridge. Kes thanks Tom for everything, and Neelix is just really jealous at this point about Tom talking to Kes, and it's pathetic, honestly, like the way he goes on. Is it believable? I don't know, to be honest with you. Would I say it's believable? Somewhat. Partially, maybe. But is it pathetic? Absolutely, yes. And Kes backs this claim that I've just made by saying he's ridiculous, but reassures him all the same. And the Doctor now insists that Neelix has to rest, which I think we could all agree, if you've just had your lungs removed, I think rest would be quite a good thing for you. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, earlier on when Janeway and Tuvok were on the planet surface, they picked up the kind of tool that was used, the weapon that was used to remove Neelix's lungs. Kind of totally forgot to mention that. Anyway, they've been researching it, and it's a kind of multi-tool. It's a weapon. It's a bit like a phaser. It's a weapon, but you can also use it for multiple different things. Apparently it's far superior to a tricorder, which is pretty cool. The alien ship has fled into an asteroid. I've wrote blurry Chakotay. Yes, because Chakotay is kind of like in the foreground in this scene, and in the background it's like focused on like Harry or someone in the background. But Chakotay stood in the foreground. He's just really blurry. It's an odd like cinematic choice, definitely. So the team works together to solve the issue of getting inside the asteroid that the ship has just fled into. Janeway takes Voyager through a narrow opening in the asteroid, and they're inside. Voyager searches inside for the alien ship, and it's very like submarine battle-esque, if you get what I mean, like very sort of waiting game, waiting for something to appear, and I kind of like that. I wish Star Trek had that a lot more, rather than just flying around like Star Wars, because, you know, we've already got that. Breaking news, Neelix has an itch on his nose, and the Doctor accommodates him by scratching his nose. Like, why did this thing need to be in here? Neelix then wants to be released. The Doctor obviously declines. Then Neelix starts to struggle to breathe. As it turns out, he's having some kind of panic attack, and quite out of character for this, I think. The Doctor just sedates him to shut him up rather than like trying to calm him down and things. I get why he done it, but it just seems strange to me. So on the back of the bridge, back on the bridge, sorry, we now see loads of Voyagers on the main view screen. It's kind of like loads of mirror reflections. Janeway does actually say it's like a hall of mirrors, and Janeway orders Tom to follow an ion trail, which I think the fleeing ship kind of emits. And I think Tuvok says it could be some sort of elaborate deception to make Voyager crash into a wall, which is cool, actually. I really did like this concept. But they're not giving up. Anyway, the Doctor finally starts to realise that he's the only true medical staff on board, and Kes praises him at this point for being that. We then jump to engineering, and Seska appearance, by the way, so points for that already. Seska's in engineering and realises there's a power drain and it's rapidly shutting down the ship. So they're essentially on borrowed time at this point. Down the page. Janeway wants to fire, but Tuvok advises against it, firing the phasers. But Chakotay comes up with a good plan where they fire a weak phaser beam to locate the hidden alien ship. So you kind of imagine if they're in mirrors and a phaser's a beam of light, I think it is, it'll kind of bounce off all the mirrors. I'm using mirrors as like a metaphor because it's just kind of loads of reflections. But the phaser, in theory, should bounce around, and it's that weak that it won't actually damage Voyager even if it hits it back, if you get what I mean. And that's to locate the hidden alien ship. After a few seconds of firing the short burst of the beam, they find it, and 2 aliens are then beamed aboard Voyager. They look like they've got leprosy or something, to be honest. It's revealed they are called the Vidians, and are fighting the Phage, which is the disease. And that's the reason they harvest organs, because their organs are kind of dying and need to be replaced in order to survive. These aliens explain their situation, and you can see that Janeway empathises with them, but demands that they return Neelix's lungs, but finds out that this isn't possible because they're already merged with the person who they were transplanted into. This infuriates Janeway, and she then has a dilemma whether she should kill somebody to remove Neelix's lungs, or to save Neelix, or to let Neelix die to save this Vidian. Janeway actually understands the plight of these aliens, and this probably is one of my favourite scenes in the entire show, like this little conversation piece here. You can tell how angry she is at it, at the alien for doing what they've done to one of our crew members, but she's very understanding in the sense of she would become everything that she despises if she were to kill this person for Neelix's lungs. So it's very honourable what she does. She lets them go, but she gives them probably the firmest warning you will ever see in Voyager, in the entire show. And I think she scares them a bit as well, in saying that she will not fuck around the next time she meets this race. Stay away from us, basically, is what she says. They understand, but the Vidian actually wants to see Neelix, as he may be able to help. Neelix is scanned by the Vidian in sickbay and insults the doctor's work. Kes immediately offers to donate a lung after the Vidian reveals that they can actually adapt organs from different races. Janeway allows Neelix to keep the kitchen, and the Vidians have successfully at this point transplanted the lung from Kes, and Kes and Neelix are okay now after the surgery is completed. And Kes is going to be trained as a medical assistant, and then Voyager just warps away back to Earth after that. So in summary, I would say it's a great episode, probably my favourite one so far at this point. Out of every episode we've had by this point, it's probably my favourite one. The Vidians are great, you know. I think they should have been a bit more of a permanent threat in Voyager, maybe replace the Kazon with the Vidians, you know, because there's an episode coming up called Deadlock, and my god, if we had the first 2 seasons like that, amazing. Probably would have been the best Star Trek show by, like, popular vote, you know, like, absolutely amazing. Deadlock is an amazing episode, in my opinion. Is there anything I would change? Have the Vidians be more kind of horrific in the sense of what they do. Maybe we could have looked at the Vidian culture or something like that. Well, I've just had to pause the recording because I've got some great news for, just being told some great news, so in a bit of a better mood than I was before, which is great. So, in terms of changing things, I'd probably just say, like, see a bit more of the Vidian culture, really. But yeah, that's about it, to be honest. Obviously, as everyone knows, I'm on Twitter, or X. I just need to start calling it X, because nobody calls it Twitter anymore, so I'm on X. Podcast's also on YouTube, released at the same time as the Spotify podcast. Got a Patreon which you can sign up to, and you can, certain tiers, enter into competitions and can also be guests on the podcast. I've got a guest lined up at the end of season 1, which is going to be great. If there's any updates, let me think, because I've got this written down what I need to kind of plug at the end. Is there any update? I'm trying to keep it going on a bi-weekly basis, so I'm going to try my best to keep doing that. If there is a slight delay in between, I will try and put a Captain's Log episode out to update you on if there's going to be any delays, because I'm sure it's going to be inevitable at some point, you know, we're going to fall behind at some point, so I'll try my best to get a Captain's Log episode out to just update you on that. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for everything. Thank you for listening to this episode, and have a great January. This will be the first full-on episode of the new year. Obviously, the previous episode, I believe, introduced Abby to the podcast. She'll be on it every so often, you know, once every blue moon. I think Abby's more interested in the kind of episodes with Seven, because she's a big fan of Seven, Janeway and the Doctor. But yeah, got a guest lined up for the end of season 1, so we're looking at a few months from now. We'll have our first full-on episode guest on the podcast. So yeah, that's great, guys. Yeah, just let me know what you think. Leave me a review on Twitter. Called it Twitter again. Leave me a review on X. Comment on the YouTube videos. Comment on my X post. Anything. Just let me know how it's going. Oh, and if you could rate the podcast 5 stars on the Spotify app as well. If you think it's 5 stars, that'd be great. So with that being said, guys, I'll see you in the next episode, which will be... Well, the podcast episode will be 007, but it'll be the 6th episode of Season 1. So, thanks, guys. See you later.
This has been In-Depth Trek.